Back now at 8:43 with today's American Story with Bob Dotson. For 40 years now, Bob has brought us tales of remarkable people we might have otherwise overlooked. And now he's revealing their roadmap to a better life in a new book called American Story. Bob, good morning. It's nice to see you.
Oh, good morning. It's kind of strange to be on this side of it now, you know what I mean? But telling tales on television is a bit like writing on smoke. Stories simply drift away. But some lingered, those that revealed what it took to be the best of America.
Drive 1,000 miles on the back roads out here and you won't find one pair of designer jeans.
I have spent a lifetime crisscrossing this country, listening to your stories.
Just like this old country, it's rocky as hell, but it's mine.
Listening to ordinary people with thoughtful solutions to challenges we all face.
Never underestimate a small amount of money.
A chorus of voices that sing America's dreams.
How long did it take it to sink in that you'd done the impossible?
Probably when we were sitting in the Oval Office with President Bush talking about bone fishing.
Not just our quest for money or fame, the story of us.
I remember a lot of those stories. You could have chosen a lot of paths here at NBC News, but you chose to talk about these people and travel these less than traveled roads. Why?
Well, I came here and started in 1972 on a very big stage. I went into the Munich Olympics and covered the Israeli tragedy when the wrestling team was taken by the terrorists and killed. But I started to think, what's going on between the bright lights? And I met some people when I was out doing a story who said, you know, we never see ourselves on television, and we don't hear our songs anymore. So I thought, well, why not look in those corners?
Resilience is one of the themes of a lot of your stories, and this will be a little bit like Bob Dotson word association, but I'll give you some terms. Phillipsburg, Montana, what'd you learn there?
It's a little town out far from the rest of us who have figured out how to survive. There are 29 ghost towns all around, and somehow Phillipsburg has survived. And the reason they've done it is they care more about their town than they care about themselves individually. So, for instance, they tax themselves $2,500 a person just to fix up their old school. And when the school superintendent got cancer, he goes off fishing, comes back, and they present him for the check for $40,000. And this is a place that's not rich.
Yeah,
and
good old-fashioned community, though.
Absolutely. It's the kind of place that makes you homesick for places you've never been.
You did a story on a paraplegic man named Mark Wellman who climbed El Capitan. What did he teach you?
Well, he was a park ranger who broke his back in a fall from a mountain climb, and he actually taught me that, you know, you should not look at disabilities but always at possibilities. And when he got to the top of El Capitan with a broken back, and a friend of his, Mike Corbett, helped him, that was the beginning of the Americans for Disability Act. That's how he got to see the president.
There was a guy you met along the path in these last 40 years, Patrolman Bill Sample, and he's someone who really stuck with you in terms of he made an impression.
He was a beat cop still in his 40s. He'd never taken a minute's worth of overtime when I met him. And that's because the 8 hours after his shift, he was taking care of dreams for little kids. And long before Make-A-Wish, he decided if a little child wanted to go out and have a snowball fight, he asked the doctors and took him out and had a snowball fight. Took him down to Disney World, that sort of thing.
These stories that you found in these small towns, I mean, you're a guy who grew up in Webster Groves, Missouri. You spent your summers in Hiawatha, Kansas. So was it as much that you found a comfort zone in these small towns as that you wanted to tell the stories of the people who lived there?
I just got the feeling that, you know, we were looking in the wrong places for answers, and that sometimes wisdom doesn't wear a suit. And small-town people remind me of that over and over again. They remind me of the values that we've always had, and so that's why I figured I'd go poke in those corners.
Tell me about a guy named Carl Grossman.
Carl Grossman comes from a family of 10. 8 brothers, all served in World War II, 6 in combat. They all made it back alive. I met Carl because he's the kind of guy you would pass by every day. He'd run out of money at age 90, so he went back to become a greeter at Walmart. And yet Carl Grossman had saved over 2,000 GIs in World War II as a medic. And he tried to get into medical school, didn't have enough money, so he went and sold cars. And when somebody's car flipped over in front of the dealership where he was working, he saved that woman's life too.
You've traveled millions of miles, you've interviewed hundreds of people. I know that meeting those people has changed your American story, and Bob, it's changed ours as well. We thank you, and it's fun to reminisce and look through the pages of this book. Thanks so much. Again, the book is called American Story. Up next, we get a live performance from Blake Shelton right here in our studio. But first, this is Today on NBC.